if they have given. Rabbi San, welcome back to Yerushalmi Shekalim. We are Pek Rishon Halacha Dalad. Is that right? So, now we do talk about women and servants and children. So, we don't take pledges from women, servants, and children. If they have given half a shekel, we do accept it from them. If a guy or kuti gave half a shekel to be involved with the korbanos, we don't accept it. We don't accept from them we don't take other bird offerings which Zovim and Zavas and Yaldas bring. Other sin offerings and guilt offerings. However, donation offerings you can accept. This is the rule. Anything which can come as a neder or a nedava, that can mekablin miyadan, we can receive it from them. Anything which cannot be just donated on the mizbeach, even though it can be given to the treasury fund, mekablin miyadan, we do not accept. Now, so one of the things that if the children do give the shekel, we can accept it. Now, a matana that a child gives is not chal minat Torah. Minat Torah, he can't make a kinyan. So how can a child give his shekel for the tzibur? It should be part of the tzibur. So Choshen answers that since we're masakin that a child can give matana, then the one who receives it gets it minat Torah because of kach hefka based in. That's how it works. So even if the child is giving half a shekel to the tzibur, it belongs to the tzibur minat Torah. The Griz answered that in order for the child to give his shekel to the tzibur, he doesn't have to give it as a gift. He's makdish it on the intention that the hekdesh will be chal as part of the tzibur. And he can make something hekdesh minat Torah. He must be maybe over 12 years old or something like that. That's how someone to learn. Okay. Now, one thing we do not take hekdesh treasury fund stuff from Chaim or Kutim is we find the puzzle with Ezra when the Kutim sent things to the Jewish people. They wanted to support the building of the second temple and that they will serve Hashem. Then Ezra answered them, Lo lachem lano livnos. It's not for us and you to build together, we will build it ourselves. And Israel, so the Nachrim and the Kutim cannot join in to have a share in the building of the Beis Mikdash or the Beit HaKabais. Now, the following, there is the din of a korban. Korban was an extra coin that you had to pay, which was the sort of money changing fee, which you had to pay with a half shekel. So the following are obligated to give a korban. Yeah. Let's see, Leviim, Israelim, and Gerim, and Avadim, servants who've been freed. They have to give half a shekel. They have to give a korban as well. Not Kohenim, women, Avadim, no Ketanim, not servants, and not children. If one gives a shekel through a servant, Aliyad Isha through a woman, Aliyad Kohen, Aliyad Katan through a child, if you're paying for any of these, then potter. You don't have to pay the coin. You're giving for someone who really is potter from giving half a shekel. So therefore, you don't have to pay the korban for them. Al yada v'liyad chavera. If you're giving a whole shekel, so you are obligated half a shekel. You're giving a whole shekel for yourself and for your friend. And he is also obligated to half a shekel. You have to give one korban. Each one has to give half a shekel. Between the two of them, they have to give one korban for the payment for redeeming the shekel into 2 half shekels. Rameh says shnei korbanos. No, you have to give 2 of these coins. Now, nasan selah lital shekel. If someone paid a whole selah for the half a shekel, lital shekel, to take like a shekel change, chayav shnei korbanos. He has to give 2 of these coins. Shekel adei ani, adei shchena, adei benirai. You're giving money for a whole shekel, and you're going to get change, half a shekel. You're paying for a poor person, for the neighbor. Partly, you don't have to give the korban. The Chachamim did not obligate you when you're making it, unless you're paying, not if you're doing it as a gift. But if if you lend them money, you're giving the shekel to the money changer, that half of it will be for the oni as a loan and not as a gift. then chayiv. Then you do have to pay the carbon coin, because since they have to return you the half a shekel which you're paying for them, is if they themselves are giving their obligation to the base of Mikdash, and therefore the carbon is obligatory. Okay. Some learned that the Chachamim patted a shekel when he's doing for his friend, because it's a way of tzedakah and chesed. So the cases in the Mishnah might be not only this. So not only you're paying for a poor person, you're doing mitzvah tzedakah, you're part of carbon. If you do it for your neighbor, it's also a mitzvah of creating peace. But not only that, but also if you pay for Ben Ira, you pay for someone in your town, which you hardly know, you're still part of, because at the end of the day, you're doing a chesed by paying for him. Okay? Rashi learns that even if you're not doing any tzedakah, you're still part of the one who gives the carbine whenever you're paying for someone else. Okay. Others learn that even your neighbor and your citizen, your fellow citizen, is the only part if they're poor, but not if they're not poor. That's how someone to learn. All right. Where are we up to? Okay. Now, brothers inherit an estate, which they get from their father. So now they are partners. Now, if their shutfas is like this, that they're all together between them paying a shekel for the half shekels, then they are obligating the carbon. But then because they're a partnership, there's no obligation of Maaseh Behema, the tenth of an animal, when it's owned by a partnership, right? If they are like separate entities, and therefore they are chayav Maaseh Behema, right? They're no longer considered partners. What's this? When they are chayav Maaseh Behema, patur min hakarbon. So in other words, they're not partners, then they're patur from carbon. So the question is, are they paying themselves together? Or are they considered as one, or are they considered as separate? We'll see that. How much is it? They said half a mar is 6 of dinar. Dinar is half a shekel, which is half the coin, which is called shekel, which is the half shekel from the Torah. According to Rameh, it's a mar, which is 1/12 of the half a shekel, which the Torah obligates. According to the Chachamim, it's half a mar, which is 1/24. Now, although they said don't take pledges from children, but if the children pay, we accept the money. As far as claiming from them, we don't start asking them to give up a shekel. In the first part of the Mishnah, we said, Tovin, you can ask for half a shekel from the children. It says we don't take pledges. His implication is that we do ask them. But in the rest of the Mishnah, you're saying you don't ask for them for the money. So he says, the beginning of the Mishnah, we don't take pledges. Is b'shevish saras. He's shown signs of puberty. He's called a child because he's not reached 20. So we do ask for the money, but we don't take a pledge. Whereas the continuation of the Mishnah, is where a child gives it, but we don't ask at all. It's talking about shaloi hevish saras, where he hasn't got signs of puberty. And if a guy or kuti give, we don't accept from them, and we don't take any bird offerings, etc. Now, the Mishnah can be explained that the one who holds kuti is like a guy. Shkalim, karbonos, chayva, we can't accept kutim as well. The Mishnah holds a kuti is like a guy in every aspect, and therefore we're not going to take any obligatory karbonos. There's an argument. Kuti k'goy, divrei Rebbe. Rebbe says like a guy. Divrei Rishma, Shimon Gamliel. I may say kuti k'Yisrael. He said like Yisrael. Now that Amora explains the Mishnah differently, Amrav Lazar Masnisa, the last part of the Mishnah, we don't take bird offerings, is begoyim. That's about goyim. But kutim lo, that din was not said with kutim. So the kutim, as far as we don't take their shkalim, but not as far as the karbonos chayva. So according to the Reisha, it says we don't receive shkalim from the nachrim or the kutim, and even if the kutim are gerei emes, we don't accept, because the pasuk in Ezra, it says we don't take kinizavin from the nachrim. Now, it's not necessarily talking about kutim there, but it really depends on the din of the kutim. Are they proper gerim? We can take obligatory karbonos. If they're not proper gerim and they've got a din of nachrim, then we can't. But Tani came, we learned in a brayta, the person brings a carbon from you, min behema, min abaka, min atzayin, Adam, l'rabas tzagim, to include gerim, mikem, lahitzias u'shumadim, to exclude the heretics. Gerim can bring karbonos, So if they are gerei emes, if they're true gerim, then they can bring karbonos. Yeah. The Mishnah itself argues because because on the one hand it says because we can't take bird offerings. Now bird offerings don't apply to goyim at all. They don't have ziva, they don't have tumah. So it doesn't make sense. You don't have to tell me we don't accept that kabbalah. They don't exist. It must be this is about kutim. The ziva, and even so, we don't take their kabbalahs from them because they got didn't like nachrim. And that's not like Rav Elazar who wanted to say, the sefer is talking about goyim. So he says it could be. So the sefer of the Mishnah Zavim must maybe kutim and not goyim. But he says, how can it be Reisha? The first part of the Mishnah is begoyim and kutim as well. It says a goy, a kuti, and a nachri. We don't take their shekels. And sefer, the last part is kutim is only kutim alone. Now the main discussion of the Mishnah is the goyim, which we mentioned first. The kutim are only brought in secondary. Now how can it be the sefer will leave out the main subject and only deal with the secondary? The secretary? No, we only deal with what's the word? With the secondary. But according to Rav Elazar, you don't have to ask why the Reisha talks about Nachrim and Kutim, and the Sefer is always about Nachrim. It could be that we leave out the Tafel and we will deal with the main subject. The hard Kali, but then the Gemara says pushes back. Actually, it's not a problem to say the Mishnah. We will break it up. The Reisha of the Mishnah is Bagoyim, is Goyim and Kutim. And Sefer is Kutim. Yeah, Sefer is only Kutim on their own. Don't like doing that, but Yerushalmi says we're happy with it. Okay. This night the tickling Chalatin. The Sefer the Mishnah, Kinei Zov and Kinei Zov. So the Reisha, Rav Elazar agrees Kutim are included with the Goyim. Okay. Some say that Rav Elazar didn't have the word Kutim in our Mishnah at all. He held that they're Gerei Emes and everything applies. Okay. Now you don't take from the Nachrim money for for the treasury fund, right? We were in a discussion on this. When they started building the base mikdash, we don't take from the Nachrim nothing which is noticeable, or even water and salt, which are not really there, just to weaken the buildings, whatever, to have some share in it. No, we don't rely on that. Because it might cause building work to stop, and I don't know what. Right, if they have a share, we might rely on them to do the building, and they won't turn up, and you can't get the stuff. But Vasaif, once the building's been built, and then you need money for the better kabais, the treasury fund. We can take things which are not noticeable, because there's no worry about it causing a weakness. But nothing specific, which is noticeable. We don't want that in the base of Mikdash that's coming from a guy, right? They've got a share. From the beginning or the end, we don't accept whether it's specific or not. There's a brisa that argues Rabbi Yochanan. We do not take from them hekdesh and adava better kabais. We don't take things from the treasury fund. Now it makes no difference beginning, end. It makes no difference. Is it noticeable? Is it not noticeable? We don't take anything, even at the end, even if it's not noticeable. And that goes against Rabbi Yochanan. So Psala, he explains it. If you want, I can explain the brisa that's talking about the beginning of the building or the end. But we're talking about something significant, something which is noticeable. Right? We don't take from them even at the end. If you want, I can explain this about the beginning of the building. Even the guy's money, right, which is not Masuyim, no one knows where the money goes. You just throw it in the sea. We cannot take anything like that. Masnisa plika, the Mishnah Erechid argues on Rav Shlokish, where it says that Hakol Shavin Shein Neidur Nidorin. Everyone can come along and give money, right? Whether they say, to make Pliny, I say I want to pay the money. This is Erechid, yeah? I want to pay the money of so and so on me, or he says the money of so and so on me. Then it goes against Rav Shlokish, who holds we do not take donations for the treasury fund. And now we're saying we are taking. But Sala, he's talking about a case where you're bringing a korban oila. Everyone holds we can take an oila from a guy, right? We're not talking about the Damin Abena Kabayis. Now, Nicha, I understand Nidrin might mean Nidrin oila, but Nidarim oila, but it can't mean, it says you give or Nidarim. Nidarim is where, it's like going on yourself. A Jew can the Jew can get a guy to give an oila, but the guy's not going to listen. It sounds like they like being forced to do it, but the guy's not going to listen. You can't learn nidarin means you're getting someone to do it, but they're not going to listen to you. The guy's definitely not going to listen to bring an oila if you sort of force him. You must bring an oila. The Gemara says, "Lie, no." The Jew takes upon himself to do it. A real lie. The guy hears it. Rabbi says, whatever he said, I want to do as well. A lie. So that's why he takes upon himself to bring an oil offering. Yeah, he's going to bring a carbon that he's going to. He'll be making holy an animal that he'll bring for Yisrael to fulfill his neder of Yisrael. So he's taking upon his own obligation because of the Jew's neder. Is if Yisrael got him to do it. And that's why the Mishnah calls it Nidorim. Now the Mishnah Erechin tells me Nachrim can bring a Korban Oila, right? They do say, I think with one of the Poskim, he says, one of the Poskim writes, a guy who's not a ger yet, but before he becomes a ger, he should bring a Korban to Hashem. Once he becomes a ger, he can't do it. Before he becomes a ger, he can do it. There's one thing he should do, he should bring a Korban. Anyway, now a guy who brings a Korban Oila, ain't it maybe iman nesachim. Now he's saying, a guy, he brings an Oila, I understand. But now we cannot take anything for the treasury fund. Now when he brings an Oila offering, he's going to bring wine as well. And any leftover money will go to buy new kalim and so on. Mimsa, it comes out, this Oila ends up bringing more stuff, maybe davar she'eina mesuyim. It brings like the leftover the Nesachim to the treasury fund, and that goes against Rish Lakish. So Hasib Rav Yosef Ribun, he answered back, V'hatanina, we've learned that the Goyim are Rachin. Now they can have a value, which are Me'ava'achin, and they can give a value of someone else. Now, Loida Bereka Baisinun, surely any value of Erechin that they give will go to the treasury fund. And Rav Yehuda holds we can receive this money. Right? That's the steer against Rish Lakish, who holds you cannot accept any neder or nedava for the treasury fund. Just like you say over there that a Nachri, who is neder neder, Erechin, L'Shamayim whom is covered, his intention is really for heaven. He doesn't mean the treasury fund. The money in the end filters down to the treasury fund. He just says, I'm giving so-and-so's value. He doesn't mean the money will go to the treasury fund. It means it will be for heavenly purposes. He doesn't know what they'll do with it. But though the Torah says it goes to the treasury fund, we receive it. But there's no issue to receive unless he clearly said he wanted to give it to the treasury fund. You understand? Here he didn't say that. So here as well, with the leftovers of the wine nesachim, the guy who makes a neder to bring an oila, l'shemaim is covered. His intentions is for heaven, and whatever in his own hand it ends up coming to klisharis. Rashim Lakish, Pasala. Now he learned the din from the pasuk where Ezra said, "Not for you to join us." He said, "We will build it." Sounds like he's not allowed to join up with them at all, whether the beginning, whether the end. Reb Chilkiah Amar, he said, Reb Simon Shah, he asked the Beis Medrash if they agreed to halacha. He says, "Mayata, if we're not going to receive hekdesh from a guy for Berek Habayis, we shouldn't take any donations for the water fountains, or the walls of the city, we go out the towers." You should have no share in all this. So, very good point. And no one actually says anything about it. They probably agree with what he says. Okay. Now, we brought machlokes about when you give a seller, which is 2 half shekels, for you and your friend. According to Tanakh, you give 1 carbon. According to Rameh, you give 2. My Talmud Rameh. What's the reason Rameh who says you have to give 2 carbons? Now, if the obligation of a carbon is the money changes fee, then you should only be high 1. When you give 1 whole shekel, there's 1 money changes fee. There's only 1 half shekel. You should bring 1 carbon. Rameh said, Kishem sheshiklai Torah, just like the shekel of a person he has to give is from the Torah, kach karbona, the carbon, the extra coin, is also from the Torah. It's not takalas chachamim, just the money changes fee. No, it's a Torah obligation that you have to give a half shekel and a carbon. And that's why Sabra May, he said, B'nais and shikla shalim, if you pay a whole shekel, right, for you and your friend, shu chayav shnei karbonis, you have to pay 2 carbon coins, because it's a Torah din. Rameh said, Hashem took out like a coin of fire from under his throne and showed it to Moshe. Amalei says, this they should give, because it should be like this. You shouldn't have less silver than this amount, right? It might have coins which are lacking a bit. So you have to add always a bit more, to make sure you're not lacking any of the amount. Nasan seller, if a person gives a whole seller, which is 2 half shekels from the Torah, but for yourself, little shekel, and you want to take a shekel back, you want to take a half shekel of the Torah, which is called a shekel in Lashon Chachamim. You want to take that back, Chaim shnei kabanis, you have to give the 2 coins. Amar Rav Elazar, Jeremei, this is like Rameh. Jeremei, Amar Rameh said, Echad, you give 1 carbine, shekel hunaisin. You give 1 carbine for the shekel you're giving, right, for the half a shekel which you're giving, right, the half a shekel, in the Chachamim they call it shekel, but the Torah did it's half a shekel. So you're giving half a shekel, and you're giving a carbine, which you're giving because of the coin of the seller, and for the money changing, and you have to give to Hekdesh a bit extra carbine, Achad L'divrei Torah, for the Torah did, to do the fulfillment of the Torah. You have to give a bit more. You have to make sure you're not giving any less than the amount. So Rav Meir in this situation says you give 2 carbines, 1 because of the schar of the money changing, and 1 for a tiny bit more. And according to the Tanna Kamma, you only give 1 carbine, which is the money changing fee. Rav said, even the Chachamim, that the carbine is a money changing, and not to make it weightier, you still need to give 2 in this case. Echad, which is the shekel shunai, said 1 for the shekel you're giving, the half shekel, but echad, and 1 is for the shekel you're getting back. Shekel shunaitel, you're getting back change. Now, according to Rav, shlosh karbanis inun. According to Meir, there are 3. If Rav says that according to Tanna Kamma, you give a seller, you take a shekel, you have to chayiv 2. So according to Meir, you should be chayiv 3. 2 for the money changing for the 2 halves, and 1 to make it the weight a bit more, right? So there should be 3 then, according to that. Now the Gemara concludes that according to Rav, Rav Meir is machayev in this situation 3 carbines, and we bring a support for this. Yes, according to Meir, there will be 3. Echad, 1 will be the shekel shunaisin, 1 with the shekel you're giving. Echad shekel shunaitel, 1 the shekel you're giving back. Echad is v'atzera, and 1 is for the extra weight, etc. Just want to see something here. So we brought, for example, here we said at the beginning of the building not to receive Nadarim Nadaves from the Kutim, and we're worried they might cause everything to be lazy. We'll rely on them, they'll delay in the work. Once the Beis Mikdash is built, maybe we can accept. But something significant we cannot accept. The Rambam and Benu Gershom learn, this is talking about the treasury fund. We don't take from them lechatchila b'di'evet. If you accepted it, you don't have to return it. The Rambam was troubled, the Lechem Mishnah was troubled, and what the Rambam writes, a ger who gives bedek habayis is Issa Me'ila, but we don't really accept it. And if it's something significant, b'di'evet, we don't accept it. So the Sameach learns, if it's not Masuyam, if it's not significant, b'di'evet we accept it, that's why there's the Issa Me'ila. But something significant, mikadin, we should really accept it and redeem it, change it to something else. But with Rabbanon, we can't do that. We don't want to say the guy made everything hekdesh and they took it for themselves. So Minat Torah, we can receive it. Therefore, there's an Issa Me'ila in such a case, right? They also bring the coin of fire that Hashem took out. The Chidush Harim brings, why is Hashem showing Moshe a coin of fire and not one of metal? He says the main giving of the coin is the fire. The main giving of the coin is the fire, the enthusiasm. And this Chidush came from somewhere in Germany, in Ashkenaz. And the Rebbe Mekatsk says that's because they're very careful about the mitzvah of Hachnasas Arachim, of looking after guests. And the Kaska, he said, the enthusiasm, which is said to take the money for the whole Ma'usis Gashmias and change it into a Ruchnius thing, that's what you're doing. And then Rav Ephraim Chaim Klein, in Haben Yakeli Ephraim, he says the riches, which are, it takes your money away, you use it for spiritual things, the more enthusiasm you put into it, the greater is the mitzvah which you're doing with it. And the rich man has to reach his kayach of a Talmud Chacham, of a tzaddik, who's all ruchnius. And like an achdus, there'll be a unity with one giving and one receiving. And that causes that connection between the physical and the spiritual, and the money is raised up. So each one gives half a shekel, and from the two of them you get a whole coin. So Hashem showed Moshe a whole coin of fire, a whole one which came from two halves. He says, the giving of tzedakah has to be from the medivus, generosity of the heart, and it should come from within, not from outside. It shouldn't be just from the lips and outwards, and it should be true from his heart and joy. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. We'll stop here, Rabbi Say.